sectoral gainer this morning, and it is trading at the highest point of the day now. Nearly 2% higher is the PSU Bank index, almost 7,500, 72, 7,300 now, 5% higher in a month. But the rally that you have seen over the last 12 months in the PSU Bank index is something to see. So that is good going for the PSU banks and PSU Bank index as well. But as promised, here is joining in now is Rakshit Ranjan of Marcellus Investment Managers with more on the markets. Rakshit, good morning. Thanks a lot for joining in. The big sector this week has been Telecom, and with the Vodafone Idea FPO, the listing now out of the way, do you see that as a bet that can be taken, the Vodafone Idea 2.0 as Kumar Mangalam Birla was alluding to, or do you stick to the leaders like Bharti Airtel?
Right. So in the telecom space, to begin with, first of all, disclosure. We don't have any exposure there because our typical approach towards picking up stocks is more high cash generation first, high ROCs, which is where I would say, I mean, the more dominant companies, the larger players, as long as the entire paradigm isn't changing and going adverse, the larger players, as long as they don't make mistakes, might be beneficiaries in this sector. But we don't have exposure to this sector for precisely the low returns on capital employed as a reason.
What about banks then, Rakshit? There has been immense news flow in the last 24 hours, specifically with regards to Kotak, with regards to the Axis Bank coming out with numbers, HDFC Bank also reporting numbers over the weekend. There was consensus that private banks are finally beginning to find some value, some consensus across the street. But now with the recent news flow at Kotak, what do you see? Where do you find value within the private banking space? And also, if at all, do you find value in the PSU banks?
Right. No. So that's becoming very interesting. So Kotak was certainly a negative surprise yesterday evening. We are shareholders in Kotak in some of our funds. The way we look at this space is when you look at the valuation piece in terms of the gap between the PSU banks and the private sector banks, amongst the highest quality private sector banks, let's say HDFC Bank as an example, the valuations have become significantly more attractive. When you look at the broader market cycle in terms of, let's say, private capex lending, likely to pick up the way unsecured lending has been going on. How can we see the cyclicality of NPAs emerge on that over the next, say, 3 to 5 years? That's where, again, our bet is that private sector banks of high quality would outperform the PSUs on credit quality of unsecured and ability to pick up the right type of private capex-oriented lending opportunities. So when you combine all of this, both the macro opportunity perspective as well as the valuations where they stand, we would back the private sector banks, the highest quality ones, certainly here. Axis Bank, another very good result announced yesterday. Gradually, I think you will see, rather than everybody doing equally well in a benign credit environment, in a benign NPA environment, as the boys separate from the men over the next 3 to 5 years, you should see the best quality private sector banks do much better than the broader banking sector.
All right, Rakshit, paucity of time, but thanks a lot for sparing time and joining us this morning and sharing your views on the banking and the telecom space as well. That was Rakshit Ranjan of Marcellus. But time for a short break. When we return, we throw the spotlight on the entire inheritance tax debate, and we'll get chatting with Dinesh Kanabar, Sudhir Kapadia, and Bijal Ajinkya on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.